Hello and welcome back to another Diablo Immortal video. In this video I'm going to be showing off a Necromancer Challenge Rift build which works for me. It's a summon build and we're going to be attempting Challenge Rift 289 which I haven't done yet. So first I'm going to jump into 289 using this build and see if we can complete it and see how it goes. After that we'll jump out and we'll have a look at the skills I've equipped and the essences and the set items, talk about the build and sort of see why it works. So I'm going to jump in, let you watch it in action. Let's see how we get on. So yeah, have fun watching, and once we finish we'll talk about the build. So here we go. Okay, so we've just jumped into Challenge Rift 289. Let's see how we get on. Where are the enemies? I usually like killing the enemies at the start. It just gives me an idea of sort of the level of difficulty of the Challenge Rift, how much damage I deal, how much damage they deal, sort of like a warm-up. So I usually like killing the first bunch at least, and then sort of push forward from there. Let's take all these out. So yeah, you can see it's very difficult. The enemies are not dying that quickly. 289 is definitely challenging for the current level we're at in our server. Most people will be around CR 40,000 or just above, depending on how often they play and sort of what kind of gear they have. But this guide's kind of aimed at necromancers who are sort of similar power level. And even if you're not, the build will give you a good idea of what you can use to just get further on if you're stuck on the challenge rifts. Hopefully it helps you out. But like I said, we'll talk about the build afterward. Let's see how we get on first and if we can actually complete 289. And then go from there. So you can see it's a very summon heavy build. The bone armor is mainly for me, really, just for some survivability. I don't want to get sort of 9-10 minutes into the challenge rift and then get hit twice hard by a boss and sort of die straight away, which ruins all the time that I've had built up. So you could really swap that out for an offensive skill, but I prefer to have a little bit of survivability. Also, the bone armor does help out the summons as well, if I cast it at the right time when they're actually alive. Okay, let's push further on. I might take out this bunch here actually, because the starting ones are on fairly low health. I don't want to waste them. They'll give me a little bit of time. The ultimates up. I might leave them for ancient elites. If I see any ancient elites up here, let's see. I don't see any blues here. It's a bit dry. Let's go forward. Still nothing. That sucks. Let's keep going. Oh my god. There's a circle here. Okay. I was hoping to at least get some ancient elites here. That's really unlucky. Okay, so what we'll do is I'm going to kill all these enemies here just because I wasted a bit of time now. I'm going to kick off my ultimate ability. And if you've seen one of my recent videos, you'll notice that the ultimate ability has an increased 10% damage now if you have completed the Crucible of Justice story event. Well, it's the latest story for Diablo Immortal that came out in the latest patch, called Crucible of Justice. Make sure you finish that quest, because at the end of it you'll get a permanent 10% increased damage on your ultimate skill, which is great. It's kind of a no-brainer. So yeah, don't miss that one out. Oh, I nearly died there. I kind of stood still for a second. I'm going to take out this bunch of enemies here. I find that once you get a nice sort of rhythm going on the challenge rifts, it's okay. And if you end up dying or your skills are sort of not in line well, you can get into this domino effect where you just like the timer catches up to you and you just end up, you know, you're just going to fail it. Okay, I'm gonna, what I really need here, ideally, I need 2 sets of elites, which will give me just enough time for the boss, because the boss is going to take quite a long time to kill in this difficulty mode, depending on who I get. I hope I don't get anyone who summons those portals, because that is really annoying. So obviously there is a lot of skill involved with the challenge rifts, depending on how you equip your build and how you gel together your essences, ones that pair together nicely. But there is a huge amount of luck involved in challenge rifts as well, depending on what map you get, the level layout, the enemy layout, where they spawn, the amount of elites you get, how often you get those elites as well. So I guess those who are chasing good times on the leaderboards will probably jump in and out of challenge rifts until they're happy with a starting set. So, you know, getting loads of ancient elites at the start and a map that they like, and sort of going from there. I'm not really too bothered about getting a good score at a time on the leaderboard, so I don't really repeat the challenge rifts much. I kind of just make sure, well, I just try and test my build and use it literally as a challenge, just to see which levels that I can get through. I will usually try to complete like 2 levels lower than the ones on the leaderboards at right at the very top. So say at the moment I don't know, 290 or 291's the highest one. I'll at least try to attempt 289, but 290 I'm not too sure. I'll try and attempt 290. I might wait until I get some decent drops for my combat rating, and when my combat rating starts to go up a bit more, then I might do 290. I kind of think of it like how much a reward I get with the time that I put into the challenge rift. So obviously these are not something which you can do in like 5-6 minutes. I mean, for the higher ones you're sort of looking at 8-9 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and that's if you get lucky with the enemies which you get. So I'd rather do something else in the game, like cap something else in the game, you know, just trying to cap my battle pass points or elder rifts or gems. So there's so much to do in the game, so I'll try just to see how far I get with the challenge rift really. But it is a nice test of your build. So you can see at the moment I'm at the Shade of Destruction boss, which is a boss that I prefer compared to like the summoner. There is an annoying one who spawns these portals and you get loads of enemies start to come at you. I hate that one because it really wastes a lot of time trying to kill the enemies that come out the portal. This one isn't too bad. I like the Shade of Destruction actually. So I've got 3 health orbs which are quite nice as well. I might keep them at the back. And like I said, the bone armor I've got is mainly for survivability, just in case I get a really annoying boss, and if he accidentally kills me like 2 times here, the bone armor is just to prevent that accidental hit, and also it helps my summons as well, because the bone armor will protect my summons, give them a bit of damage immunity. So you know, you could have another offensive skill, but I just wanted at least one survivability skill really. Okay, I'm going to use my ultimate ability just because it's up. If I do die, then I'm not really worried too much because of the time. Oh, okay, I shouldn't have said that. I kind of jinxed it. I don't really want to die, but I said if I do die, I do have enough time to sort of keep going, but I don't want to push my luck. Okay, let's keep a bit of distance actually. I'm kind of cornered in. I want to go further up north, so let's move up here. And I really need my summons back, need the cooldown. Okay, here we go. So golems back up, skeletons are back up, mages are back up. My golem increases the maximum life and duration of the mages, and that works together quite nicely, which I'll talk about once I finish this. Okay, and here we go. first completion reward received for this Challenge Rift level. So that's my very first completion of this Challenge Rift level. Picked up some loot. Mysterious Voice said, well done to me. Thank you, Mysterious Voice. And let's exit. So there we go. That was that Challenge Rift level. Jumping in with this Summoner build for the Necromancer. Now let's talk about the build. So if you can have a look here, if I look back at this Challenge Rift, I've completed 289. The next one is 290. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to do 290 just yet. Maybe I might just wait until I get a few increased CR. So let's have a look at the leaderboard. So it gives you an idea of how I did with this current build and sort of the level of sort of difficulty. So I'm going to swap out to another class, go back to Necromancer just to show that it is an updated list. So as you can see, I'm at 19. This is only my first time doing 289. And looking at the other people above me, so they're all at 289, 289, 289. And you can see the first 11 are on sort of 290. Oh no, actually, sorry. The top one's at 294, Denim. And then we have 292, Turtle. Han has managed to do 291. Same with Kota and Broly. The rest of them are at 290 and then 289. So, you know, it's not too bad. 289's pretty decent one to do. And same with 290. Like I said, I will probably attempt 290 maybe next week. And if I get a decent CR bump with an exceptional gear or something, I might give it a go. But yeah, there we go. That's where I am on the server. I will try and push up a little bit more. And that gives you a good example of the build. Now, as I promised, let's talk about the builds. So let's head towards the essence transfer person. Let's go to the one up north here. So before we have a look at the essences, let's go into the skills. So like I'm a Necromancer and I've gone in with Bone Spear as my main primary attack just because of the piercing damage it does. And you know, you got the 27,950 damage and you get the damage reduced by 50% for each additional enemy pierce, but at least it goes through those enemies. I did try this with Soulfire to begin with. Soulfire is still pretty decent, and the ultimate, I love the ultimate for Soulfire, but I switched to Bone Spear, which seemed to work slightly better for me anyway. So I got Bone Spear, and then we've got Bone Armor. As I mentioned earlier, this is purely for survivability when I'm at the boss. I don't want to get that far in and then get a really annoying boss which I accidentally get trapped with and it sort of hits me twice and I die or something. I'm sort of made out of glass, it feels. So the Bone Armor is kind of for my protection, and also it does help the summon stay around for longer. So this one is up to you. If you're very confident with some of the lower level challenge rifts, you can swap Bone Armor out with an offensive skill of your choice. But that's personally what I like to go in with. Now, Command Golem is what I've gone in with, so it does a control and summon. So Command Golem. The next one is Command Skeletons, which is a no-brainer for a summon build. And then the third one is Skeletal Mage, another summon skill. So we've got Mage, Skeletons, Golem, Bone Armor, and Bone Spear. Now let's have a look at the essences. Right, first of all, the Helm. We're going to go with Decrepit Visage, which is a newer essence that's been introduced, where your Golem roars once every 2 seconds, extending the duration of your nearby skeletal mages by 2 seconds, and Command Golem cooldown is reduced by 3.6%. All of my slots are awakened, so I'm also getting the additional cooldown decreased by 10% of the Golem. So yeah, this is a great one, and you'll see later on how this pairs nicely with everything else. So that's the headpiece. Chest piece, Parting Gift, a no-brainer if you've got Bone Armor. So it grants me the 5 damage immunity to not only myself but the summons as well, which helps keep them around for longer, and it helps me in sticky situations if I get stuck in a corner, or if I get one of those mud walls around me, or if I get a really annoying boss that sort of hits me really hard and then I lose the time that I've built up until that boss. Now, if you're very confident at the lower levels of Challenge Rift and you do want to keep Bone Armor, then obviously you can swap this out for something like Bone armor causes your summons to continuously deal damage, or granting them immunity to damage and loss of control. Or you can go with any of the other bone armor ones, so damaging nearby enemies. So that's an option as well. You could change your defensive bone armor essence to an offensive bone armor essence. So you let yourself play around with that one. That's up to you. The rest of them I'd stick to as they are. So the shoulder piece, depletion and renewal. This is where the skeletal mages grows in size and strength the longer it's active, increasing its damage by 45% after 5 seconds. Skeletal mage cooldown decreased by 10%. So this is also one of the newer essences, and it's a no-brainer. Now this is the one which works nicely with Decrepit Visage. So the golems are going to keep my mages up for an extra sort of 2 seconds. As you can see, every 2 seconds the golem roars, which extends the duration of your nearby mages by 2 seconds. Because the mages are around for longer, they get increased size and strength, and I can get the five, after 5 seconds, they should be around for that long. I get the 45% increased damage. So these two work together really nicely. So make sure you have them paired. Right, for the leg piece, we've got this Undying Malice essence. So this one increases my critical hit chance with bone armor. So every time I hit bone armor, I get increased critical hit chance. The more critical hit chance I have, I do increased damage. The more damage I have, they die faster. So you can see what I mean. You want to try and get your critical hit chance as high as you can, so you get the big hitters, especially when you're at the boss or some of the elite enemies. Now, as I mentioned, this one works with the bone armor, and if you don't have bone armor, then you're going to have to swap this one out with something else depending on what you decide to pick. But yeah, I think this is a really good one to pick. I mean, duration, I wouldn't really bother about duration because the cooldown's not too bad. You're not really in a raid or anything like that, or gauntlet, to worry about that. And yeah, I mean, cooldown reduced, not really. It's not going to benefit you that much. Like, cooldown's not that bad for bone armor, and I can't see any others which are really that helpful. So I'd go with increased critical hit chance, and obviously the awakening bonus means your cooldown's reduced by 10% anyway. Okay, so that's the first 4. Let's look at the main hand weapon. So we've gone with Rotted Harvest, which is Devouring Golem. This is another one of the newer essences. Now, Command Golem now summons a Devouring Golem with unlimited duration that consumes the nearby corpses to increase its size, maximum life, damage, and attack range, while dealing damage and slowing nearby enemies. Command Golem damage is increased by 18%. I get an additional 10% off the life. Now, because the golems are around for longer, you can see where I'm going here. Because the golems are around for longer, it means it's going to roar every 2 seconds more, which means it's going to increase the duration of the mages, thus giving me the 45% damage for the mages. So you can see how now all 3 of these are linked together perfectly. The golem and the mages are paired together really well. And you kind of want to try and summon them at the same time if you can, sort of keep them up at the same time. Obviously, if they're off sync, then, for example, if the golem dies and you've got the mages up, then the mages will die, and then you get the golem up, and kind of out of sync. So you kind of want the mages to be up and then the golem up at the same time. And if you get that nice rhythm going throughout the challenge rift, you'll notice they'll stay around for longer and you'll deal more damage. So these 3 are a no-brainer. Definitely keep these as they are. Okay, so for the shield, this is another one which works nicely with the other 3. Another new essence. So we've actually got some fantastic new essences for Necromancer. I'm really happy with all of these because it's just increased the gameplay fun so much more with the Necromancer. This is Black Wall Umbra Eater. Skeletal Mage is now mobile and channels beams at multiple nearby enemies that deal more damage the longer they hit the same target. Skeletal Mage damage increased by 18% and an additional 10% damage because of the awakened slot. So this is really good because before the mages used to be stuck in one spot. I used to have the Hungering Moon one, which was really fun. But this is great because now you see the mages sort of split up and they do those beams, and they continuously focus on one enemy for, you know, the longer that enemy's active, the more damage they'll deal. So this is really, really good when you get to the boss. If you have the boss here and get those mages up, they'll continue to channel these beams at the boss. And because of these other 3 essences, the mages should be around for longer and getting that 45% damage in if they survive for a long time. So it's a really nice combo, all of these. Now the bottom 2, the offhand weapon, now it's up to you if you want to swap this out for anything else. I've gone with Command Skeleton's damage increased by 19% and the Skeleton's Summon's life increased by 10%. The Command Skeletons have sort of been neglected with their bonus here, because before I did used to have sort of like the Skeleton champions are replaced with archers, or the electric skeletons that sort of jump in. I didn't really want the electric ones because the challenge rifts are quite difficult and I didn't want them jumping into a bunch of enemies and then die. I used to use the archers for challenge rifts to keep the skeletons away. So it's up to you if you want to use skeletal champions are replaced with skeletal archers, or the golem roaring. But you know, you can see why I've gone with the golem roaring. You don't really want to take that one away, just because it, you know, keeps the skeletal mages up for longer, and because they're up for longer they deal more damage. So I would suggest sticking to your skeletons doing a bit more damage, so when they are up, you're going to maximize as much damage as you can. Now in terms of other options here, not really much you can go with. I mean, the only one I can think of is, because I've got Bone Spear, you can have Bone Spear poisoning enemies, and you get the extra 90% damage. Now, this will be really useful if you get to a boss and your time is sort of running out. You can use the poison to sort of help take out the boss longer. Other than that, I mean, you can have increased attack speed, but I don't think you're going to notice the difference with that attack speed much, really. The destroying enemy armor for 3.2 seconds, increasing the critical hit damage. That's also quite good as well. But yeah, I would, because it's a summon build, it's a no-brainer just to have increased damage for those summons. 19% is not bad, and you get increased life. So either have the increased damage or go for one of the Bone Spirit essences, and they're the options which I think you should go with. Now for the offhand shield, this is another one which you can swap out as well. So like I said, the bottom 2 you can sort of play around with. I've gone with Command Golem damage increased by 19% and the Command Golem's life increased, because I want that Command Golem to stay around longer, so he keeps roaring and he keeps the mages up for longer and he devours all of the corpses around me. But also I want the Golem to do, not just keeping the mages up, I want him to do some damage as well. I want him to be useful. So when I leap him towards a bunch of enemies, I want him to do as maximum damage as I can. So I've picked this just so he doesn't increase 90% damage. The other essence which you could swap this out for is actually one where he decreases the damage, increases the damage taken to nearby enemies. That one isn't too bad as well. So if we scroll down this list here, this one here called Corrosive Slab isn't bad. I used to use this as well. So Command Golem also makes nearby enemies vulnerable, causing them to take 15.2% damage. This is quite good because if you've got an area where you've got a group of enemies, not only will the Golem do increased damage, but the mages and your Command Skeletons and yourself will do an increased 15.2% damage. So you can swap this one as well. Like I said, I used to use this, and it's only recently I've swapped to Command Golem damage increase and increasing his life, but I would say they're equally just as good. So either go with Beacon of the Lead or go with, where is it? It's the one down here where your Command Golem increases the damage dealt. So yeah, I'd go with either of those two. The other one you can do is also the Prong. Decreases the time required to raise new skeletal champions. That one's quite good because it just reduces that cooldown a little bit more. But yeah, in my opinion, I think go with Corrosive Slab, which is it's a really good option. Corrosive Slab or Beacon of the Lead. So it's up to you to play around with those two. So Beacon of the Lead or Corrosive Slab. So yeah, once again, you got Beacon of the Lead or Corrosive Slab. You got Pierce Hammer, Black Wall, Rotted Harvest, Undying Malice, Depletion and Renewal, Parting Gift, and Decrepit Visage. If we have a look at my set items, I have gone with full Shepherd set. So my summons deal extra 15% damage. I get an additional 3% critical hit chance for each of my summons, up to a maximum of 18%. Because I've got all of those mages up and the skeletons, I should be hitting that 18%. And my summons enter a frenzied state for 12 seconds each time one of them critically hits. So that will get their 60% increased attack speed. Yeah, that can't happen more than 40 seconds, but when it does kick in, it's really good because obviously the Challenge Rift is all about time. So if I do get that frenzy kick in just when I need it, you'll see the summons go crazy and start to attack like mad. The other two set items right at the bottom. So for example, I've got 6 of the Shepherd set. The bottom 2, now that's purely up to you which one you want to pick. If you want to do a shield absorption, or you know, there's different sort of ignite status. If you want to have the ignite status one with the angment, I've gone with Ember Will just so I get that increased 15% damage for the primary attack, just to help that extra little bit. So the set items are kind of easy for this build, and I think most necromancers and summoners are going to have shepherd's gear anyway, so there's no like tricky set items that you have to go and collect here. In terms of legendary gems, I don't like to talk about legendary gems too much because it just depends of the player type and, you know, what their luck level is like with the legendary gems that they've got. I know not everyone's going to have 5-star gems, but just go with your most offensive gems that you can. And an easy, cheap one is Follower's Burden. Definitely have Follower's Burden. It's an easy one to get rank 10 and it's sort of cheap. So obviously Follower's Burden is going to increase all damage you deal by 3% for each summon you control. So that's another 18% damage that you've got. So yeah, Follower's Burden. And another cheap one you can equip is Mother's Lament. It's not too hard to get this one to rank 10 at this stage. And that's going to give you that 20% chance of gaining that maternal disdain. Giving you an additional 32% crit chance. That's loads for 6 seconds. You're going to pair that up with a bone armor critical hit chance as well, on top of what you've already got with your legendary gear. So yeah, this one's a no-brainer. So Follower's Burden and Mother's Lament. Like I said, the other ones I'm not going to talk about them too much because it depends what you're going to have. I like having Echoing Shade just because it gives me some, you know, clones to start doing primary attack damage. Starfire, if you have Starfire, it's a no-brainer. That's just going to deal those meteors from the sky, do the burn damage. Gloom, you know, it's not too bad. You've got the new Wolfheart gem at the moment. If you got that, that's probably slightly better than Gloom Cask. But this one just helps with your primary attack. Phoenix Ashes I've kind of just got as my survivability gem. If I do get that fatal attack, it might just save me having to die all the way to the end. And Blood-Soaked Jade, this is definitely a must-have if you can get hold of it. I know it's expensive to get 5-star gems and it just depends on luck, but if you are able to pick a 5-star legendary gem to get, definitely go for Blood-Soaked Jade. And Roiling Consequence, I got just lucky with this when this came around. I actually ended up getting a 5-star one, and because of that I ranked it up a bit higher. So they're the legendary gems that I've got. Runes, just equip whatever runes you have. And in terms of the sort of the bonuses on your items, that's up to you. Sort of just go with whatever you can. I think the main thing here are the essences, the set items, have Follower's Burden, have a gem which increases your critical hit chance as well. And that's actually the main thing. If we have a look at my combat rating, just so you get a comparison of, you know, where I lie with these the build that I've got. So I'm at 40,500. Nothing too impressive, you know. I'm not at 41 or 42k combat rating, but then again I'm not under 40k. I would say that you want at least 40k combat rating to do the Challenge Rift level that I just did. Anything lower than that, you're going to find it quite tricky. There's also the legendary gear now that gives you additional command skeletons, which you can get from doing terror rifts and sort of, like the hell bounties and all that. You need at least 4 of those. I've got 3 in my stash. I'm waiting for 1 more. If you can get 4 of those bonuses, you're going to get additional command skeletons. So if you've got that, definitely go with that as well. And in terms of Paragon, I've just gone with Slinger, really. You can go with Slinger or Brawler. I've gone with Slinger with... okay, these are the ones that I picked. So I've gone with, Unseen. I've gone with Spell Surge. I've gone with Uncanny, Impulsive, and Gifted. These ones work nicely together when I swap between primary attack and skills. And I've been told it works with the summons as well. And hopefully that's still the case with the current patch that we have. So this is the Paragon I've gone with. And go with Lightning Rod as your legendary skill. Don't forget to equip your legendary skill. And that's pretty much it. So I think they're the main things worth mentioning for this build video. So yeah, that's my summoner build. I haven't quite given it a cool name. I think it's sort of like I'd call it Army of the Dead. There you go. That's my Army of the Dead summon build for challenge rifts. And obviously this summon build is versatile. You can go ahead and use this summon build on raids. You can use it when you're doing dungeons. It's quite a fun one to use. So yeah, go ahead and use this challenge rift wherever you feel like you want to use it. It's definitely a nice one to go ahead and use. So yeah, hope you enjoyed watching my challenge rift video. It's hopefully easy to understand and follow. Hope to help somebody else out there. And yeah, have fun with it. Necromancer is a really great class. It's fun having all those summons help you out. This one, you can see how much damage it dealt and how I was able to get through 289. Like I said, if I can get through 289 with just over 40k CR, you should be able to do ones like, 281, 280, 279, 282. You should be able to do those ones with this build. So best of luck. Have fun. Hope you enjoyed watching the Army of the Dead summon build for Challenge Rift for Necromancer. This is my character Zion, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.